I took a memo and it is, we're not supposed to have all the answers. Stop being a control freak. I know, but I've been thinking about my future a little, and then I'm getting anxious about it. It's uncertain. So, and I can't predict, expect, anticipate what's gonna happen in my future. So that kind of scares me, and sometimes sometimes it's killing me. I'm not gonna lie, because like I said, I am a control freak, and I used to, it's getting better, but I used to control. Like I was the biggest control freak. I wanted to control everything externally, like what's gonna happen, when it's gonna happen, how it's gonna happen, but we can't do that. And I realized that I can't, the fact that I cannot control external things. So that's when I stopped being a control freak. But I was doing for the entire time, so it's kind of one of my habits, so it's really hard to wipe it out of my system. So I need like constant endeavor, constant work to wipe it out of my system. Sometimes just cannot help it. I want to control everything. I want to know what's gonna happen. I want to know how it's gonna happen. I want to know when it's gonna happen, because I'm tired of waiting. I feel like, honestly, sometimes I feel like, that emotions, that feelings are like kind of starting to fading away, but I still sometimes, it's really gonna happen though. I've been waiting for so long. I've been waiting for it to happen for a long time, for too long, but on the surface level, it seems nothing's working out for me. I just ate food, and when I was eating food, I was thinking about my future, and I was kind of like getting anxious about it, because I don't know. I know for a fact what's meant for me cannot miss me, and eventually it will catch up with me, and it will come, but I don't know when, and I don't know how, and I don't know what's gonna come into my life, but I just know that it is coming. So I am in the process of learning surrendering. So surrendering is kind of like trusting. So that's what I've been practicing on. But sometimes I go back to my old identity, who wanted to control everything, and who wanted, like all that, like control freak myself. And then I will questioning everything. Why, when, how, what, and all that. But I watched one video, and she was talking about like, you're not supposed to have all the answers, because if you had all the answers, especially what's gonna happen in your life or something like that. Excuse me, I'm sick, so I'm like getting sick, so, but I'm fine. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so you're not supposed to have all the answers, and then if you had all the answers already, then you can't experience, or you can't feel the feelings or emotions you were supposed to get by achieving, or getting that future, or getting that turn of event which gonna happen in your future. Did that make sense? I hope that made sense. But if you already know what's gonna happen in your future, and how and when it's gonna happen, then when that actually came into your life, then you're not gonna, you won't be able to feel the emotions or experience some sort of like miraculous moments you're supposed to feel or experience in the first place. But if you already knew, then you can't, right? Because you already know. So what's gonna happen when it's gonna happen? So you'll be like, okay, I knew it finally, or something like that. So it's boring. That's why you're not supposed to have all the answers. And when I heard that, oh, something clicked in my brain, and it made sense. And oh, that's actually true. So, source, the universe, like God is trying to, give it hush hush and keep it a secret so that I can like feel these emotions or feelings or miraculous experiences, right? What did I just say? So that I can experience miraculous experiences, or have all the feelings or emotions I can get out of that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting point of view, and I think it's true. So yeah, so you're not supposed to have all the answers. And I was always wanted to, we're not supposed to have all the answers. But at the end of the day, we want to control everything. We are a control freak. So, but I know everything happens for a reason, and I am trusting in that. So clearly that is happening for a reason. But being control freak, or like chasing something, or waiting for something to happen for me, or something magical, mystical to come into my life, it's kind of like draining and tiring. Like, it sometimes consumes me, because I used to feel, or I used to think that I have to work hard to achieve, I need to work hard to get some sort of like rewards. That's the only way to get rewarded. But now that I know that it's not the only way, and you don't have to be working really, really hard all the time, because you're not supposed to do that. Your body, your mental will break down if you do that. So sometimes work hard, sometimes take break, and work hard, break, or even not working hard. Maybe just like go with the flow. And that's what I'm trying to do, like just going with the flow and see where it takes me, or see what happens. And I am in the process of trusting the process. But I used to feel like I need to get like actual tangible achievements to feel that I'm capable, and that I'm deserving to have some certain good things in my life. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm always kind of like rushing in this sacred pause in my life. Like, where everything feels stationary, everything is stagnant. That's pretty much the same. Yeah, but on the surface level, on my like human brain level, in my sight, everything seems to like be still, like nothing is working out. But I'm trusting that like the source, the universe, God is like orchestrating so many things under the surface, like without me even realizing it. So that's also why we're not supposed to have all the answers. What? Yeah, kind of like that. So I know still sometimes want all the answers, or especially resting, or especially you are in the stillness. But a lot of people around you, like many people around you, are like taking taking rest, or not working hard is kind of like sometimes it will be considered as bad or negative thing, as a bad thing, and then sometimes people would judge me or judge you. But I think it's also, you know, for me personally, I used to believe that working hard is the justice. Like working hard is a hero, kind of like I am supposed to work really, really hard constantly without me like reflecting or looking back, or, you know, without taking any breaks. Just work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. No need to think about anything, just work hard for something. But now that I know that like everyone has their purposes to be here, you know, everyone deserves to be here. That's why they are here. They are born and they are here, and purpose is different for each person. So like, you know, why did I bring that up? You know, we're all different, so we're not supposed to compare ourselves to someone else, because we're all different and we have different purposes, we have different goals and dreams. So, and we're not supposed to compare yourselves to someone else, others. So why am I talking about that? What was I even talking about? We're not supposed to have all the answers. So what I used to like working hard as a hero. That's what I was talking about. So, but I kind of forced, not forced, but the divine, the source, the universe God gave me to like the opportunity to take break from everything, you know, stop working hard and reflect on my life and face myself and what you really want to do, and think about what I really want to do, what I want in my life, what I want, you know, what I want to achieve, what was my dreams, what was my goals to achieve or make happen in my life. Reason why I wanted to talk about that, because I made a decision to take break from everything, or, you know, choosing not to work really, really hard, choosing stop working really, really hard was motherfucking hard for me, because I used to believe, like I said, it's the justice, it's what I'm supposed to do. So going against that, kind of like, and, you know, society is kind of also pushing ourselves to work hard. So me choosing to take break, that means also I am going against the societal mainstream societal, like what society want me to do. So that's why, and also what people around me are doing, working hard. So me choosing to take break from my life, to taking break from working really, really hard, is kind of like it. I needed to be really courageous. I needed to be really brave. I needed to be really, you know, it was difficult for me, but the moment I did that, but I learned so many things. I learned like so many valuable lessons, and I realized that, you know, working hard, you know, when you have some sort of goals or achievements, or something you have passionate about, then you are like good to go, like, and it's aligned with your purpose, aligned with like what you really want in your lifetime. You know, when it's aligned with these things, then you are good to go. Like work hard, like good. But, you know, a lot of people here is kind of like, just they are working really, really hard for something, because they don't know what to do in their lives. Does that make sense? So, because so many things are distracting us from like focusing on what you want, what you really want in your lifetime, what your values, what really matters in your life, or these things. So, and working really hard is kind of like working really hard. It feels cool, and it feels like I am working really hard. I am a hard-working guy. I feel confident when I'm working really hard, but also sometimes that like side effect of that is kind of like getting lost in your life because you are busy, so you can't even have time for just yourself and reflect on or look back on and to see how far you've come so far. So why am I talking about this? We're not supposed to have all the answers. This is really off topic, right? I don't know why I am talking about that, but going back to the topic, since I was the biggest control freak, so I know exactly how it's like to be a control freak. It's so draining, it's so tiring, it's so exhausting because you can't. It's kind of sad too, because when you're trying to control everything external, but that's not what we can do, and that's not what we are supposed to do. So you're kind of like working really hard for nothing because you cannot control at the end of the day. So, and that's what I used to do. Me trying so hard to control external things, but in reality, I cannot do it. So I will beat myself up and starting to question everything. Why I can't do this? Why I can't even control one thing in my life? How pathetic I am, how miserable I am. That's what I used to feel or think. But what I was trying to do is actually something I cannot do, but I didn't know that. So I was always beating myself up, and my self-esteem went downhill. I didn't even have self-esteem. I hated myself. So yeah, but it's so, now that I think about it, it's so sad because you cannot do it and you're not supposed to do it. So what? Yeah, literally, stop being a control freak. You're kind of like suffocating yourself by you. So, and it's so sad, right? I know. I don't want to think about it, but yeah, but it's so sad. So, and we're not supposed to have all the answers. So that's how it works. We can control what on the inside, but internally ourselves, like our perspective, our perception, something internal. But external things, we cannot help it. We can't control it. And we're not supposed to control it. Maybe you can switch to, trying to control external to trying to control your internal, because your world starts within you. External things just happens in our lives, but what we can help, what we can change, what we can control is how we see it, our perspective, our perception, our reaction to some certain things. Since we cannot control what happens in our lives externally. So yeah, and to wrap all up, we're not supposed to have all the answers because kind of like God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is trying to save your joy, save your like miraculous experiences, like miraculous, like positive, like these like emotions, feelings, when you can feel when that thing happens, comes into your life. So that's why you're not supposed to have all the answers, and you're not supposed to control everything external. external environment, external things. But what you can control is your internal things, your perspective, your perception, your reaction to things. So that's what you should be a control freak of. Did that make sense? So yeah. So thank you so much for watching today's video. When we are trying to change, when we are trying to build new habits, when we are trying to change internal things, it takes endeavor, it takes time, it requires energy. So, and sometimes in the process we are going back to old identity, or old perspective, old identity. So, but it's totally valid. So don't beat yourself up, and don't be too hard on yourself. Be easy on you. Take it easy, because it is what it is. And self criticism is not required in the process. It's just a process, so you don't even need to do it.